to the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee Sunday morning celebration service. And whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here, whether you're here in the sanctuary or you're with us on Zoom. I'm Rev Pam Brandman, the senior minister here at the center. And we like to remind everyone that our center's purpose is love, and our vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. We like to start our service with a receptivity statement that you'll see on our screen and will read along with me. I am here by a divine appointment. Something I am about to hear applies to my life. I am open, receptive, and willing to explore the possibilities. Our musician this morning is someone that we've been missing for a while, but she's had a good reason to be gone, and that is she has a new little grandbaby. And we're also holding that little grandbaby in special prayer this morning because he's in the hospital. She is in the hospital, and so we're knowing that God is right where she is, and she is well. But this morning, we have Callie to come spend some beautiful time with us.
Everyone, I, as always, am happy to be here. I got that awful call at 5:30 in the morning that my little 5-week-old grandbaby is had a spinal tap, has a high fever, so keep her in prayer. Her name is Lane, and my daughter Casey and her husband Daniel. So this song I believe I've sung it here before, but it's a favorite of mine, and I found it very comforting this morning after finding out that news. The song was the most perfect words that I needed to hear, that I wanted to hear this morning, and it's called Oceans. You call me out upon the water, the great unknown, where feet may fail. And there I find you in the mystery, in oceans deep, my faith will stand. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours and you are mine. Oh, grace abounds in deepest waters. Your sovereign hand will be my guide. Where feet may fail and fear surrounds me, you've never failed and you won't start now. So I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul will rest in your embrace. For I am yours and you are mine. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk among the waters wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever and my faith would be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. Spirit, lead me where my trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith would be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. My soul will rest in your embrace, for I am yours and you are mine.
And so we come to the time for our practitioner. And this morning, our practitioner is Shirley Clark, and who's a retired practitioner, but still wonderful practitioner. And she's here with us this morning. She and her partner, Karen Heine, lost a longtime companion, their dog Ellie, yesterday. And so Karen is at home, and Shirley is here with us today. So we'll also keep them in our prayers as well. So, but Shirley is here, and she's going to be leading our special reading and the invocation this morning. Thank you. Help me welcome Shirley Clark. Okay.
Thank you very much. Before I do our special reading this morning, I would like to share a couple of cards that we received here at the center. One's from Reverend Maggie, who was recently ordained, and we sent a donation in her honor to her center up in Washington, and she sent us a thank you note that reads, Reverend Pam and CSL TT, blessings of gratitude upon you for your generous financial gifts on the occasion of my ordination celebration. At last. CSL is near and dear to my heart as the incubator and genesis of my ministry. Thank you all for all you do and for who you are. Lifted in love, Maggie. And then we also were gifted by Reverend Penny Masick. She gave a donation to our center, and her note reads, Hi all, grateful for your continued sacred work. Love, Penny. Our secret reading comes from Walden, or Life in the Woods by Henry David Thoreau. He writes, The pond in winter. After a still winter night, I awoke with the impression that some question had been put to me, which I had been endeavoring in vain to answer in my sleep, as what, how, when, where. But there was dawning nature in whom all creatures live, looking at my broad windows with serene and satisfied face, and no question on her lips. I awoke to an answered question, to nature and daylight. The snow lying deep on the earth, dotted with young pines, and the very slope of the hill on which my house is placed, seemed to say, Forward! Nature puts no question and no and answers none which we mortals asked, it seemed to say, forward. Nature puts no question and answers none which we mortals ask for. She has long taken her resolution. O Prince, our eyes contemplate with admiration and transmit to the soul the wonderful and varied spectacle of this universe. The night veils without doubt a part of this glorious creation, but day comes to reveal to us this great work, which extends from earth even into the plains of the ether. Then to my morning work. First I take an axe and pail and go in search of water, if that be not a dream. After a cold and snowy night, it needed a divining rod to find it. Every winter the liquid and trembling surface of the pond, which is so sensitive to every breath and reflected every light and shadow, becomes solid to the depth of a foot or a foot and a half, so that it will support the heaviest teams, and perchance the snow covers it to an equal depth, and it is not to be distinguished from any level field. Like the marmots in the surrounding hills, it closes its eyelids and becomes dormant after 3 months or more. Standing on the snow-covered plain, as if in a pasture amid the hills, I cut my way first through a foot of snow, and then a foot of ice, and open a window under my feet, where, kneeling to drink, I look down into the quiet parlor of the fishes, pervaded by a softened light as through a window of round glass, with its bright sanded floor the same as in summer. There a perennial waveless serenity reigns, as in the amber twilight sky, corresponding to the cool and even temperament of the inhabitants. Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads. And so, in keeping with that theme, living everyday wonder, nature, today's talk is entitled Earth Force, Report for Duty. And taking into contemplation, knowing that spirit is everywhere present, that life force that is embodied in nature, in the universe, from the grandeur of all of the galaxies that form the universe, clear down to the smallest fly, to the smallest grain of sand, to that most precious drop of water. I know that spirit lives, has its being in each thing that we find in creation, in nature. I know that I am a part of that oneness, and I claim that beauty and wonder and love and power and creativity that works through each and every one of us. It is good and very good. And that creativity is beautiful and wondrous. And I am grateful for this creation. And I am grateful for the power and the love and the perfect health that pervades each and every inch of that creation. Just knowing that it is God's design, perhaps, and perhaps the free flow of creativity, that co-creative process that molds and shapes the things that we celebrate. And in great gratitude and love, I just place those words into the law, knowing that it is all good and all moving as it should. And I just close this prayer. Together, we say, and so it is. I would love to invite Callie back for a second song.
Sure. Okay. Give me a second. So, my second song, you'll probably recognize it. It's a little bit different take on the original artist. The original artist was called Jimmy Eat World. And I never really resonated with the song when I heard it more in the rock and rollish kind of way. So for some reason the song's really been resonating with me lately, and I've taken up the guitar. So you get to be my second performance on the guitar. My first performance was here as well. I think one of the last times I was here. So this is a little bit more of an acoustic version of the song "The Middle," and I chose it too. Is this on? Because we're all in the middle of our earthly journey here, and I just really like it. I hope you like it too. I hope it goes good with this guitar. So here we go. Hey, don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out or looked down on. Just try your best. Try everything you can. And don't you worry what they tell themselves when you're away. It just takes some time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright, alright. Hey, they're all the same. You're doing better on your own. So don't buy in. Just live right now. Yeah, just be yourself. It doesn't matter if it's good enough for someone else. It just takes some time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. It just takes some time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. Hey, don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out or looked down on. Just do your best. Do everything you can. And don't you worry what the bitter hearts are gonna say. Just take your time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. So just take your time, little girl, you're in the middle. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright, alright.
Callie. Well, today we're going to talk about how closely humankind has connected with nature and our planet Earth, and why it's important for us to care for the planet. And so the topic for today is Earth Force, Report to Duty. Right. So the reading today was from Walden. Henry David Thoreau was an American philosopher, poet, and environmental scientist. And in September of 1845, Thoreau began a 2-year retreat in a small cabin he built by himself on Walden Pond. Walden Pond was owned by Emerson. And he had discovered Emerson when he was graduating from Harvard College, and he read Emerson's famous essay, Nature, soon after he graduated from college, and was really impressed by it. And it just really set him off on this whole pathway he had of being connected with nature his whole life. When he was living at Walden, Thoreau wanted to live a very simple life, and he in the natural surroundings, and he wanted to concentrate on finishing a book, and it was the book A Week on the Concord and Merrimack Rivers, which was published shortly thereafter. He had to self-publish it, and sold about 300, I think, of the 1,000 copies that he published. But the transformative experience of living at Walden was really the important part of that whole experience. And so he recorded that in the book Walden, A Life in the Woods, and published that one about 9 years later. So it took a while to refine it all and get all those ideas down. But you could see it was a very graphically detailed description of it was, because he was so mindfully present of what he was doing. And can you imagine, the only way you can get water is to dig a 2-foot hole into the snow and ice on top of the pond. And so it was a very difficult kind of thing. And so he spent his time getting water and firewood and eating and sleeping. And that was what a lot of his day was, other than when he was writing. So but that quote that we had ends with this quote: "Heaven is under our feet as well as over our heads." And so he saw that heaven is on earth, and the serenity of that fish swimming in the water under the ice, and just seeing it, it was like a spiritual heaven, and on earth, right? And so he learned that serenity. It's when you meditate, we find that deep abiding peace that we know that regardless of what's going on out here within us, in that place where we know that God dwells, we feel that power and presence of spirit, there is always this serenity. Now, Thoreau was part of the Transcendentalist movement, which was started in Massachusetts, there in Concord, and they believed that connecting with nature would allow people to deepen their spirituality and their connections with the whole world. To the Transcendentalists, everything is connected and everything is one, right? And so those Transcendentalist ideas were passed down into the founders of New Thought, including Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, who was born in 1887 in Lincoln, Maine. So somewhat close, but not too far. So, but before shifting into this talking about this humankind's relationship with nature this morning, I'd like to spend a little bit of time on a fundamental spiritual principle of unity, that everything is connected to the one. Now, Troward, in the Edinburgh Lectures, in the section on the unity of spirit, he wrote a lot about this, and he wrote about it had been a judge in India, and so he had a very logical mind. He was used to developing arguments that would, be for or against someone being guilty or whatever the case was. And so when he was in India, he also studied comparative religion and really got into the Hindu teachings. After he retired, he moved back to England, and he started writing it down, using that judicial logic to describe it all. And he had investigated the field of metaphysics, and he wrote 16 books, right? Now, the Edinburgh lectures that he gave at Edinburgh College in 1904, it was recorded in the book The Edinburgh Lectures on Mental Science. And one of the, he described it, the natural principles governing the relation between mental action and material conditions. So as he writes, he has a style that the first paragraph is 2 pages long, and some of the sentences are about 1/3 of a page long. And so when you first hear it, it's rather long-winded, and I'm not going to read it this morning because we're running a little short on time, but I'd like to explain, using his idea, how he explains unity. So he says that, first, that there is a universal spiritual substance that is the innermost nature of all being, right? And if this spiritual substance is infinite, then several things follow, right? So the first is that there can be no place where spiritual substance is not present if it's infinite, right? Everywhere present. So that's infinity. Second, the infinity must be a unity, right? If it's everywhere present, everything is a part of the one, of the unity. So infinity is a unity. And then if you try to divide the unity into 2 parts, you can't have 2 infinities. That's an impossibility. So there really can only be one. And then you think about this, this is where the idea comes that just like darkness is the absence of light, the devil is the absence of God. Of course, that really can't happen either. So it's a mental construct that we create. It's only a mental barrier that we've created when, in fact, God is everywhere present. Right? And so it's up to us to align with that higher truth. And then also, if you try to have more than one unity and you multiplied it to make it bigger, well, then you really don't have a unity either, because you can't. 2 times infinity is still infinity, right? And if you take infinity and try and divide it by 2, you still have infinity. So that's really where it comes. And so a line out of that, he says, therefore, if we would penetrate below the outward nature of the individual to that innermost principle of his being, from which his individuality takes its rise, we can do so only by passing beyond the conception of individual existence into that of the unity of universal being. Right? So when we think of ourselves, then we see ourselves as separate, right? We see that, this is the boundary of my body, my being, and what have you. But that's only at this physical appearance level. At that level of universal substance, I'm part of the one. There is no separation between me and the wall or you or the sun. We're all part of the one, right? So this explains that we can never be separate from spirit, right? And so when we do spiritual mind treatment, for instance, we know that God is all there is and I am one with God. And that's just restating that and bringing it into our mind. And then from that consciousness of oneness, then we state the truth, right? Now, President Lincoln said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Now, he based that on the story in Matthew 12:22-28, when Jesus explained, he cast out the demon from a man that was there, and people were asking him how he could do that. He must have been casting it out from Beelzebub or something like that. And he said, nope, he's casting out the demon from man by the Spirit of God, because that's all there is. And so that is the only power and presence in the universe, is the Spirit of God. Now you can study more about Troward and the metaphysical Bible interpretation, and there's a class starting on April 19th based on his book called Bible Mystery and Bible Meaning. Donna Axton, one of our practitioners, is going to be teaching that on Friday mornings, I think at 10:30. And so that's a great class. And Troward he's one of the people that Ernest Holmes based a lot of his teachings on. And you can see, and it can go back there. And so it's a very logical kind of a scientific presentation. but it just makes so much sense. And I remember when I was right out of college and I read Troward for the first time, and it was, and I was, had all my science. I was an engineering major, and so I had all that science thinking, and it was like, okay, well, and but it took me right out there into the oneness, right? And so it's a wonderful, good place to study. So if we come then, based on all of this thinking then, life is always in balance and in harmony with itself. It can't be divided against itself, and we are a part of life. The cells in our bodies cannot be divided against the body, or there would be no life, right, if we had the different parts of ourselves fighting each other. The same is true for the planet. Life is a symbiotic, organic, living harmony of all of its parts. The rocks, the water, the air, the plants, and the animals. It's all in that harmony that's there. And it's only in our ignorance that we have lost this knowledge in our deep connection to the planet and its inhabitants, right? It's always there, and we just can't see it because we've closed it off in our mind and our beliefs. So if we do look around us and we see what's happening in the world, we look at how we treat ourselves, how we treat our fellow human beings, and how we treat the planet. If we see that, perhaps we are the ones that are out of balance, right? Humankind. So that also means that only we can heal the division that we ourselves and our forefathers have created. So let's remember and reclaim the oneness and know that there's only one life. And that's when we're called to that earth duty, right? To take care of the planet. Life is always expanding. It's evolving and growing. And this is the oneness coming into form, into the manifest world. So it's coming from this 100% potential at the beginning, the Big Bang. All there was is potential. And then it starts going into the form. Now, the E equals mc squared is the way that Einstein put it. So energy or the manifest world, and it goes back and forth between the two, but there's nothing's ever lost. It just changes from one form to the other. So if we know this, then we start to understand that the physical world is always changing, right? And so it's coming when we go to that energy world, the potential world of oneness. It can always change the form when it's manifest, right? It's whatever we see as something that just can't be changed. It can easily be changed because it is in a temporary form. Another thing about nature, though, and why it's so important to spend time contemplating it, is that for me, it fills me with a sense of awe and wonder. That there is something greater than me that is here. It could be whether I'm admiring a tall, stately tree. There's some beautiful trees in our neighborhood that I love to walk by. Could be I'm laughing at the antics of a chicory eating through a pine cone. I know that Tom caught one this week, and it has a new home, not in her yard anymore. Or perhaps enjoying a gentle summer breeze that's cooling my face, in the early evening. And one of them, I know when we were traveling up in Alaska, is discovering a bear that was just in the water in the river eating as many salmon as could possibly catch. What a feast. It would be very expensive in the grocery store, but for that bear, that was the height of his day, or the period of time when they were spawning. So nature reveals its beauty, its power, its abundance, creativity, and its resilience. All of these wonderful God qualities that are expressed in nature, right? And so when we sit back and take the time to look, we get to hear it. And clearly, there is a loving and an infinite intelligence behind this panorama of life. Beyond the beauty and wonder, however, one of nature's most amazing characteristics is that all of creation is interconnected. Because we are one, all creation, whether it's a living creature, the highest mountain, the deepest sea, or the farthest star, comes from that same source. And we remain interconnected. For example, our physical existence as human beings is wholly dependent on a healthy, vibrant planet. Right? Plants produce the air we breathe. And with photosynthesis, the plants transform the sun's energy, the nutrients from the soil and water into food for us and other living creatures, and they produce oxygen as a byproduct. Right? So we need each other. We produce carbon dioxide, maybe a little too much of it, but the plants use that carbon dioxide for themselves. We can disrupt this process when we do things like pollute the water with chemicals from our factories or untreated sewage or maybe leftover pharmaceuticals. Another way is discharging air pollution into the air, or the carbon dioxide into the air, which can too much, which can harm the other species and cause perhaps acid rain or climate change. And we're seeing all of the changes that are happening with our all the storms that are so much stronger and more frequent. Whether it's snow or rain, or rain doesn't come in a nice little gentle rain anymore. It seems to come in these flooding onslaughts that we've had problems in Nevada recently, down in Reno, Las Vegas, all kinds, several places. And we also have droughts that seem to be longer and deeper, right? Commercial agriculture has also had some major impacts. Half of the Earth's fertile land is now covered by crops. All right, so we don't have the natural ecosystems that are so important to support the planet and to support all of the other creatures besides people on the planet. The researchers at the Smithsonian Institute in 2022 studied almost 87,000 plant species, which is only a portion of the total species on the planet. But more than half of those are considered, quote, not useful to people. And therefore they are either definitely or potentially at risk for extinction, right? People care about the plants that we, like grains and corn that we grow for food. But if it's just to be pretty, or it's in a remote little place, or something people don't even know about yet, people don't take care of it, and the habitat can be cut back and whatever it's relying on. So it's the diversity of the plants is becoming, and then the various living creatures that rely on those plants is really being reduced significantly. So our actions affect not only other humans and ourselves, but all living creatures, since we all live symbiotically together. So we may not even know the value of what we're losing. There's a man named Sir David Attenborough, and he's a British biologist, BAFTA winner, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, natural historian, and author of 25 books. He's traveled to the wild places all over the world. He's also the younger brother of the late director, producer, and actor Richard Attenborough, which you may know that name as well. So David Attenborough first became prominent as the host of a show called Zoo Quest on the BBC in 1954. That's almost 70 years ago. And he's been active. He's done many award-winning nature-type shows, and he was head of the BBC programming. A very, very active guy. So, but initially he focused on bringing nature to our TV screens and making it real for us. In recent years, he's become an environmental advocate, advocating for setting aside more areas for nature preservation, restoring planetary biodiversity, switching to renewable energy, mitigating climate change, reducing meat consumption, and other environmental causes. Now, Attenborough right now is very concerned that we're at a tipping point for the survival of our planet and all species, right? Humans have had such a monumental impact on nature. So in 2020, at the ripe age of 94, he starred in a movie that was on Netflix called David Attenborough, A Life on Our Planet, and there's also a book that goes with it, and you can still look at it on Netflix. But in the movie and the accompanying book, Attenborough recounts his life and the evolutionary history of life on Earth, to grieve the loss of wild places and to offer a hopeful vision for future. He believes that one thing people are really good at is solving problems. If we decide that it's a problem we want to solve, and we get together to do it, rather than going in all different purposes. This is an Attenborough quote from a 2020 interview. "I'm 94. I've had an extraordinary life. It's only now that I appreciate how extraordinary. As a young man, I felt I was out there in the wild, experiencing the untouched natural world, but it was an illusion. The tragedy of our time has been happening all around us, barely noticeable from day to day. The loss of our planet's wild places, its biodiversity. I have been witness to this decline. A life on our planet is my witness statement and my vision for the future. It is the story of how we have come to make this our greatest mistake, and how, if we act now, we can yet put it right. We have one final chance to create the perfect home for ourselves and restore the wonderful world we inherited. All we need is the will to do so." So this year, 2022, at the age of 96, he stars and narrates in another series called The Green Planet, which is on PBS. And you can see that whole, if you have a subscription, you can see all of those shows now. The show, Michael and I have been watching it in the last few weeks, and it covers the wildly different landscapes and biomes of Earth, from rainforests where the plants must deal with an abundance of rain, to arid deserts where the plants must learn to live with almost no water, and how they adapt. It's pretty amazing what different things that the plants do. And so on The Green Planet, he takes us on a tour of the Earth's most interesting plants, including the ones that flourish in the tropical worlds, ones that grow in water, and even those that bloom in the ice snow forest or the pavement cracks of the concrete. Right? A most amazing part of the show for us has been the pioneering camera techniques that they have. They have these cameras that move in, and they can get very slow, and they'll take a shot every 20 seconds, and then they speed it all up. And it looks seamless. You would never know that that's what they're doing. And so it takes the viewer on a magical journey from the perspective of the plants. And they have this exciting background music. So I mean, it's like the most exciting thing. It's spellbinding. And a lot of people like to watch we've always had wildlife shows about, you'll have two lions fighting, or covering territory, or the monkeys playing, or learning about different habitats. Well, this is just as exciting to learn about the plants. They have different ways of surviving. Well, it could be their own special timing. It could be the attractors that they put out to get the pollinators to come help them, and even predatory practices. I mean, some of these plants send out their little feelers, and they choke off another plant, or whatever they do. It's pretty amazing. So plants have evolved in extraordinary ways to survive in some of the harshest environments on the world. And one of them is the bristlecone pine tree that lives in the harsh, windy, and rocky environments in the Great Basin National Park near Ely, Nevada. And most of the park is at 8,000 feet or above. And so it's not all the trees are very spindly and not very tall at all. I mean, they're maybe 20 feet, some of them, and not much more than that. And but some of these trees are 4,900 years old, and you would never imagine it given that size. But they've learned to live basically on top of a rock. Right? They're clinging on top of the rock in the wind, without any soil that's visible, except what's the result of them, what drops of their own leaves each year. So plants are pretty amazing. So Attenborough makes a strong and passionate case for preserving these natural environments. But many people still feel separate from nature. They have their air conditioning in the summer, they have their cars, we have our TV screens and our cell phone screens, and But one of the reasons that people like to live here in Lake Tahoe is that they want to live close to nature. That's why we stay here. It's like, people have to enjoy the snow really to live here year round and stay here year after year, right? And that's just like Thoreau was digging through 2 feet of ice and snow to get to the water. But that was part of his experience of being close to nature. And so what do you do to have your experience with nature? Gail Gabron said, "Forget not the earth delights to feel your bare feet, and the winds long to play with your hair." Right? So there's this interaction between us and the world. Right? It's not just all about the harsh craziness. And, there's fun and delight and joy. If you watch those little chicories, that's a good time for them. They're pretty funny, even if all of the little tidbits they leave are kind of annoying. So to make sure we make sure that we have time for a walk outdoors, a bike ride, or a swim in the lake, right? And perhaps you can notice the scents in the air and how they change day to day. Did you notice the scent in the air when it rained this week? It's just a very characteristic smell of rain, right? And what do you do that would help care for the planet? Do you pick up trash on your walk? I know that Ocean's part of our center, and she likes to take a trash bag along on her daily walks most of the time. You could join our Adopt a Highway cleanup program. That next one is on August 20th. And that's part of the way that we keep Highway 267 looking great. You can choose drought-tolerant plants for your yard. It's changing what we've been using. Make sure your sprinkler system is in good repair and that you have one of those little meters that will measure perhaps how much water has actually fallen in the rain. There's going to be new discounts on rebates on installing solar panels. And maybe you want to support some wildlife, some nonprofits that are supporting wildlife diversity and preserving those areas. A man named Kim Stanley Robinson wrote a 2021 science fiction novel called The Ministry for the Future. And it's about a future climate catastrophe where millions of people die or become climate refugees. And so in this fiction novel, all the nations join together to create this ministry of the future that identifies and implements strategies to save humanity. So there's like 100 different little stories that are all fit together. But he shares a lot of his ideas of what he's learned, of ways that we could work individually and collectively to change the future, to bring the earth back from the brink of this climate disaster that could be happening. The reality is that the end has not yet been decided, right? We have the capacity to change the story and change how our children and grandchildren will experience planet Earth. But one thing is clear. It's going to take more than just reducing our greenhouse gases and just turning off our lights and doing those kinds of things. It's going to really take a, quote, superhuman effort. But if we want to know how to do that, it's about connecting with Spirit, because Spirit knows what the greater possibilities are. To sustain our own lives and all our life on the planet, we need to work together. Ernest Holmes, in the book This Thing Called You, said, "I am guided by the same intelligence and inspired by the same imagination which scatters the moonbeams across the waves and holds the forces of nature in its grasp." And if that's the infinite intelligence that is our source and that we have access to, the answers are there, and it's up to us to listen. Our decisions and our actions control our future. And together we can create heaven on earth, where we care for each other, for our magnificent planet, and for all of nature. So it's time to join the Earth Force and report for duty. So let's take this into prayer. As we turn within, we feel that, follow that path we have followed many times, and find ourselves in the presence of the One power, the infinite invisible that has created all that is. It has created me, it has created you, it has created all of life, our planet, the farthest planet, all of the stars, the whole universe. It is all one. And as we let go of the need to control, to have everything just the way we think it should be, and allow ourselves to step back into that and rise into that higher consciousness, we see how there is this natural harmony and balance. There is this give and take, the pendulum swinging back and forth to create that balance. And so we allow ourselves to let go and let God. We allow ourselves to be still and listen and be in the moment and to see beyond our little world and to see the greatness of God's universe. And as we rise to this higher level of consciousness, of knowing, of being a part of the One, we also see what it is our part to do as to care for the earth and for our fellow human beings. We are caring for ourselves because they are part of us and we are part of them. And it is good. And we find ourselves stretching and growing and realizing that there is more to life than what we had thought. And every day there is something greater and more wonderful, that there are greater connections tying us all together. And as we learn to come together, we lift everyone up together. For we are the arms and the hands of God, the voice of Spirit, the legs that move us here, and the conscious mind that is listening and taking action on the many infinite ideas that come into our mind. And so we know what it is to do. And we do it with love and with passion. And we are supported from within and from without by all the universe. How wonderful to be a part of this. How wonderful to be a part of this greater existence and to see that inner world of spirit and the outer world of the physical form at the same time. One is connected to the other. That it flows back and forth with ease and with joy and with love and goodness. And together we say, thank you, Father, Mother, God. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for this consciousness and awareness. Thank you for all of the good things in life which continually flow into our lives, and that we can share them with everyone here and everywhere. And so it is, and so we let it be. Okay. So I would like to welcome Callie back for one more song.
My next selection this morning is by an artist named Kina Grannis, and it's called For Now. Whoops, sorry. Sometimes I think about the ones that we've replaced, all the millions underneath the burnt and waste. And I get sad because of course we'll be the same. All of history collapsing in its wake. Oh, maybe it's enough that I have laid here. Maybe it's enough that I have known inside my head, and maybe it's enough to know that we were here together, and that we are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones for now. I heard that someday when they look up at the night, they'll see nothing but a black and starless sky. And they'll tell stories of some old and callow time, claiming spectacles of brilliant, burning lights. Oh, maybe it's enough that I have laid here. Maybe it's enough that I have known inside my head, and maybe it's enough to know that we were here together, and that we are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones for now. Oh, oh. So maybe this is what it takes to realize I am grateful just that I have been alive. And I'll be happy if I look back on my life. Been a sister, been a mother, been a wife. Oh, maybe it's enough that we have laid here. Maybe it's enough that I have known inside my head, and maybe it's enough to know that we were here together, and that we are the ones. We are the ones. We are the ones for now.
Are the ones. We're the ones we've been looking for, right? No more waiting. Well, this is our time, our prosperity time. And so at CSL Tahoe-Truckee, we know that we are supported by the infinite source of God, and for us and for our center. So your donations are a way that you can contribute to our fulfilling our vision of embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the ones. You support the center and all the things that we do. So if you would take your offering and hold it over your heart as we read our prosperity affirmation. It'll be here soon. All right. If you would read along with me. I gratefully and joyfully share my offering, which flows from God, my infinite source. My gift blesses this center and all who are guided, healed, and empowered by its activities. All I share with life returns to me blessed and multiplied. I'm so blessed. I am so blessed.
I'm so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. am so blessed, I am so blessed, I am so grateful, I am so blessed.
Gifts which are so generously given. We know that it is all God and it is all good. We bless these gifts and we bless the giver and we bless the receiver and all of the things that happen as that law of circulation, of the flow of abundance, which is the natural flow of the universe. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. And so it is. Well, I'd like to welcome our guests that are here. And we have one person, Laura. Would you like to introduce yourself? So she moved here from Pacific Grove. I think we'll have to start having a microphone to pass around. And I don't know if we've got anyone new online, but welcome, Laura. We're glad to have you here. And we have, we're working on getting people back in the sanctuary as a part of their post-COVID. But it's working slowly but surely. We have some thank yous also that I'd like to do. Zoom hosting today is Michael Brandman. And thank you very much, Michael. And Shirley Clark was our substitute practitioner because Michael was going to do that. And we also see hospitality is several people. So Nancy and Sue are doing the hospitality today. And we have another great announcement. Our new office administrator is going to be Adam Blankenship. So he's visiting his parents in Florida right now, so he's doing a few things for us online. It's the great part of this, and one of them is he's going to get our July sermons uploaded. So I think tomorrow is when they're on the big day that they'll actually get uploaded. But he'll be in person starting on the 15th in the office. We have the, this is really good. Oh, here we go. Thought my copy didn't have all the announcements. Okay, so right after service today, please join us for hospitality in the hospitality room. And for those of you online, we'll keep the Zoom connection open for a while so you can say hello to each other, and we'll use the computer here that we can also have a chance to talk. Please check out our website, tahoecsl.org. We have all of our weekly online newsletter there and details about all of our events. Next week, our Sunday service, August 14th, is going to be in person on Zoom. We'll continue with the August CSL theme, Living Everyday Wonder in Nature. But the talk will be entitled The Water of Life, Lake Tahoe. And I'm going to be talking not just about the importance of water and Lake Tahoe to us, but I'm also going to be talking about how Lake Tahoe has been important to the Washoe tribe over the years. And this is the land where we are is traditional Washoe tribal land. So we're going to, after the service, we're going to have a drum circle, which will be drumming in blessings and gratitude for our center. We're coming back from COVID, and we're officially in this building. We didn't really get into full gear when COVID hit, so we're celebrating coming back. And so there will be a potluck at noon. And the drum circle will be from 1 to 2:30. I think I'm doing this out of order, so I'll finish when we get to the next section. So the video recordings are going to be up on the YouTube channel. And if you could go back to the e-bikes group, Michael. There you go, thank you. And so this week, the outing is from Loyalton to the Bird Sanctuary. So bring your e-bike and park at the Leonard's Grocery Store in Loyalton at 10 a.m. It's on the left side of Highway 49. So you're going to need to get an early start this week. Bring your lunch, but it should be a great outing, and that group really has been on some wonderful places all around Tahoe this summer. Now, the drum circle is next Sunday, and we're going to, in a drum circle, everybody's going to have a chance to say their name into the circle, but Jim Eaglesmith will be leading it. And then the four directions will be covered by myself. As an interfaith group, we have Rabbi Ivan Yakar from the North Tahoe Hebrew Temple that's over on National Avenue. And, excuse me, the Jim's there. And then Mary McEnany will be also with us. She is an Ananda meditation teacher, and so she teaches her meditation every Thursday afternoon. And so we're bringing in the four things to represent our intergenerational thing. In the purpose of CSL Tahoe-Truckee is to show all of these different faiths coming together. I wanted to remind all of you that For Goodness Sake is closed June 1st, and they're closing out their library and their retail books. And their sale continues through this week. So if you would like to have a special book from many, many different disciplines in Eastern Western religion, science, psychology, philosophy, all kinds of, they have CDs and books as well. Anyway, they're having a special sale up there in Truckee, so you might want to go visit them this week as well. As I mentioned earlier, the Bible Mystery and Bible Meaning class starts on August 19th. And you can sign up for that here in the sanctuary. And we do encourage people to sign up in advance so we can make sure we have enough books for all the students. Adopt a Highway, I also mentioned, is on August 20th. And if you haven't done this before, you need to complete an online training that's about 20 minutes maybe. And Nancy can give you the link. Or you can call the office, but it's a good time, and it's really a wonderful service that we do in outreach. 3 weeks from now actually it's 2 weeks now. August 21st is our annual barbecue. This year it's going to be held at the North Tahoe Regional Park in Tahoe Vista. So you please decide what potluck dish you want to bring, and we'll be getting together on Sunday afternoon. Another wonderful thing that's come together this week is we have in September, on the next slide, September the 17th at 7 p.m., Anton Miserak and his wife Laura Berryhill will be our musicians that Sunday, the 18th, and so they've offered to give us a concert the night before. And it's transformational healing music. If you've ever heard them, they both play quite a few different instruments, all different types of world music, as well as the New Thought type of music. So it should be a wonderful, and they have a lot of people that have heard them in the past that live up here at the lake or South Lake Tahoe or nearby, and so they've had lots of requests, so we should be hosting quite a few people besides our own congregation here for that concert. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that's also the same weekend that Reverend Dr. Lloyd Tupper is going to be here. So he'll be speaking that Sunday, and then there's a retreat for the practitioners and ministers at Sue Ruta's house on that Saturday in the daytime. So another big announcement is we have our Ananda retreat is going to be on September 23rd through the 25th. And so we have the flyer. We have the working title of the Surrender Retreat, but I think we've settled down. The actual title is going to be the Serenity of Surrender. And doesn't mean that you're perfectly still. That might mean that you're in the flow. But we're going to explore what all the different things that can mean. And the facilitator is going to be Eugene Holden. Eugene is a fabulous practitioner. He was the director of the World Ministry of Prayer for CSL for 10 years. If you read the Science of Mind magazine, he writes the affirmations column that's near the beginning. And so he's been doing that for many years, and quite high consciousness. I love working with Eugene. And I had volunteered for the World Ministry of Prayer for several years, so he's a good friend of myself and Michael. And then our musician, you also know very well, is Gary Lynn Floyd. And so he has all kinds of New Thought music. He writes music with lots of other people as well. He's a recording artist, and he's won many awards from the Posse Awards for his music from Empower Music and Arts, which aims at the New Thought type musicians. And so, and the two of them work really well together. When at teen camp, they put on about a 2.5-hour experiential for the teens, and it was really a wonderful experience for all those kids. And we had 2 of our teens there as well. So you can sign up. We have there's some flyers out over here, the sign up out here, and we've got the rates that are in there. The website is all set up to, if you want to register on the website, or you can write a check and sign up here, or do a credit card here as well. Okay, and the early bird discount deadline is August 24th, and then the regular registration deadline is September 8th, because Ananda would like us to pay them their fees sooner than later. So please do that, and with this crew leading it, we might sell out. So we'll see. That would be nice. That would be a nice problem to have. We also have all of our regular things that are going on in the center. We have Tai Chi, Mary McEnany's meditation, and Sue Pipel's book study Course of Love is on Fridays as well. All right. This is the time for our children's affirmation. And have those children in your mind and read the affirmation along with me. We see you. We hear you. We love you. You are a gift from God. And so it is. And the last announcement is about our practitioners. And so our practitioners are a wonderful part of our center because we know that prayer works, and they are professionally licensed, and they spend a lot of time maintaining that consciousness, and they can be a lighthouse for you if you have other things going on in your life. So please find one of them if you would like them to pray with you. We have Nancy O'Neill is here. Michael Brandman is a practitioner. I'm a practitioner. And Shirley's special practitioner today. And then I think online, do we have? No, okay, all right. So I mean, a lot of our people are traveling this weekend. So, but now we're going to have our closing song and affirmation. So if we'll make our circle.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on